All right, it's the last day of geography for our Asia unit. So let's get started. So, oh, there we go. So today we're going to be looking at Russia, and I realized a good chunk of Russia is also in Europe, but I decided to put Russia in the Asia unit because we cover um, a lot of Russia is in Asia. So a little bit about Russia. So Russia is the largest country in terms of physical area. That means like by square miles and stuff. Russia is the largest. The capital of Russia is Moscow. Russia is known for growing lots of grain, and Russia is interesting because it's located in both Europe and Asia. So we're going to look at the Ural mountain range, but the Ural mountains are considered the separation for the two continents. So part of Russia is in Europe, then there's the Ural Mountains, and then the other side is in Asia. This is St. Basil's Cathedral. It's probably one of my favorite instances of like Russian architecture. So it has like those really fancy onion domes. It's really colorful, really pretty, and it's a Christian church. So once again, Russia covers two continents. It's the largest country in the world. It ends up being about 6.6 million square miles. It has 11 time zones, 9 mountain ranges. It borders 13 seas, 2 oceans, and 14 other countries. Russia is almost twice the size of the United States, and that includes Alaska and Hawaii. So, about twice the size. Pretty crazy. The Ural Mountains, they're the boundary between the European part of Russia and the Asian part of Russia. And you can see right on this picture, it runs north to south, right, and it splits Russia. The Ural Mountains are older mountains, so they're going to be more, curved. They're not going to be as pointy. This area, right, the mountains have lots of minerals, and they're rich in oil, natural gas, and iron. The Caucasus Mountains are down south. They go between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea, down by Turkey. It's a boundary on a southern boundary of Russia, right between the Black Sea and the Caspian Sea. In the Caucasus Mountains, we have Mount Elbrus, which is an extinct volcano, and that is their tallest mountain. Its highest point is 18,510 feet, which makes it one of the tallest mountains in the world. The central... Oh, my circle's not in the right place. Whoops. The Central Siberian Plateau is above it. Oh, I don't know what I was thinking when I made that. But Central Siberian Plateau is like right in the middle. Oh, there we go. Thing I circled was the Altai mountain. Sometimes it's spelled with an I instead of a Y. Altai. Mountains. They're the boundary between the Russia and China border for a good chunk of the area. They're really pretty. Here I spelled it with the I. Same mountain range. The Kamchatka Peninsula has a record of negative 90 degrees Fahrenheit. On this peninsula, it has 100 volcanoes and 23 of them are active. That's part of the Ring of Fire, right, with the Pacific Plate. So, volcanic activity, earthquakes, that kind of stuff. And that is the part that's like close to Alaska. The plains. So we have the North European plain, which is where we find 75% of the population of Russia. This is where we also find their capital, Moscow. With inside of Moscow, there's like some famous places like the Kremlin, which is like their capital, and then Red Square. St. Petersburg. Throughout Russian history, there were times when St. Petersburg had a bunch of different names, but it was the capital at certain times as well. But St. Petersburg is also in this northern European plain. It's more flat, easier to grow stuff. It's a more temperate region, so it doesn't get too hot or too cold. Get different seasons. The North European plain, it's really flat, but the problem with it is it's really poorly drained, meaning you have like lots of swamps and lakes in these areas. The southern section, we get a lot more like rivers and waterways that you can like have a boat go down. The southern section has like this really black, rich soil, which is really good for like growing lots of crops in, specifically wheat, barley, rye, and oats. So a lot of the world's grain is actually grown in Russia. The Western Siberian plain is between the Ural and the Central Siberian Plateau. It's 1 million square miles, which makes it one of the biggest plains in the world. Once again, this is poorly drained, lots of swamps, lots of marshes. So, with water in Russia, the longest coastline, so it has like 23,400 miles of coastline. Think about it. Even though a lot of their northern border is with the Arctic Ocean, do you think there are lots of ports to the north? Right. It does get really cold up there. So you're not going to find as many ports to the north. Instead, you're going to see Russia trying to get more and more ports to the south. To the seas, to Pacific Ocean. Historically, there's lots of kind of fights between Russia and other countries about trying to get access to warmer water for shipping. So in the south, they can go from the Black Sea to the Aegean Sea into the Mediterranean. So this is the Black Sea. The Aegean Sea is like where like Greece is. If you're interested in like Greek mythology, that's where like a lot of the Odysseus's travels like would have been, kind of a thing. Then the Mediterranean, right? In order to do that, they have to pass through 3 Turkish waterways. They have to work out deals with Turkey to do that. Black Sea they use for fishing as well. The Caspian Sea is the largest inland body of water in the world, as far as like surface square miles. It doesn't have any outlets like the Great Salt Lake. So water goes in, but it doesn't like go out to an ocean. Lake Baikal is in southern Siberia. It's 400 miles long. It's 40 miles wide, 1 mile deep, and that makes it the deepest freshwater lake in the world. It actually contains roughly 20% of Earth's freshwater, just because it's so deep and so big. Rivers, so there's lots of rivers that go through Russia. Probably the most famous is going to be the Volga. These rivers are used for transportation and power with like hydroelectric power. They have some really long rivers. 84% of fresh water in Siberia comes from the rivers. They have lots of fresh water in Siberia, but in like more populated areas in other parts of the country, there's like a shortage of fresh water. The Volga, it connects Moscow, which is the capital, with the Caspian Sea. 2/3 of the water traffic in Russia goes along the Volga. It's frozen for half of the year. And lots of hydroelectric power is generated with it as well. You know, problems with pollution, problems with using too much for like irrigation, stuff like that has been an issue. Right, and then some of the biggest rivers in the Siberian area are the Ob, Yenisei, and Lena. And those flow north into the Arctic Ocean, whereas the Volga flows more south. Tundra, so if you go up into northern Siberia, you find lots of tundra. Doesn't have any trees. The permafrost, it has permafrost, which means the ground a couple inches down is going to remain frozen all year. Sometimes the top couple inches will thaw in the summer and stuff will grow. The taiga is we have like the world's largest forest. It's a cold forest, usually coniferous. It's 4 million square miles, which is roughly the size of the United States. Mostly coniferous, which means like pine trees. And it's subarctic, meaning it's also pretty cold up there. The steppe, these are the grasslands. So we find this in like Eastern Europe and Southwest Russia. The steppe's really great for agriculture and grazing. And it's a relatively small area in Russia, but they have it. So, right, we have a lot of different kind of climate going on throughout all of Russia, but that makes sense because it's super huge. And yeah, so there's going to be a test next time, so please make sure that you guys take a look at the Unit 5 study guide. So I went through and I chunked them out based off of like slideshows. The religion slideshows I just put together because I think one day I didn't really have like a slideshow. But anyway, so it's by slideshow. And there's questions that you can go through to prepare for the test a little bit better. And yeah, I hope you guys have a great day.